Welcome back to the Eye in the Sky. And in coaching, there's this old saying, goes something like this. It's not about the X's and the O's, it's more about the Jimmies and the Joes. Or as George O'Leary would say, the better your players are, the thinner your playbook should be. Well, I mostly agree with that, but in the NFL, we have this pesky thing called a salary cap. I mean, this isn't Major League Baseball. We're not the New York Yankees. You can't just go out, buy a roster, throw them on the field, and expect to win 75% of the time. At this level, coaching matters. And when we look at this Monday night matchup between the Bears and the Vikings through that prism, man, there are some great stories. And the main one is how Brian Flores is done versus the Bears and how Brian Flores is done versus the Detroit Lions and Ben Johnson. Two completely different animals versus the Bears. 3-1, only gives up on average 16 points a game. And oh, by the way, the one loss, the Vikings defense only gave up 12. But versus the Lions, it's a completely different story. The Vikings defense has given up on average over 30 points per game. So for Ben Johnson, is that the Jimmies and the Joes that he had or the X's and the O's that he ran? Well, we're going to dig into the film and we're going to figure out exactly how Ben Johnson has had so much success against his Brian Flores defense and then project a little bit and say, can he run these things with this new Chicago Bear group? Going to be a great matchup Monday night. Don't forget, if you like this kind of content, please give it a thumbs up, click that subscribe button. Now let's get into the film. Well, it seems like forever since we've had an end zone view and actually got a chance to talk about the running game, where in this game it's going to matter. What Ben Johnson did with the Lions, the running game in Detroit opened up the play action passing game. He's going to want to continue that into Chicago. But let's get some of the finer points about this Ben Johnson running game. And I think one of the first things that you're going to notice from a personnel standpoint is notice the two tight ends. So this is 12 personnel, right? And the Bears went out and made a first round pick out of Colston Loveland. You also have Cole Kmet. So two pretty good tight ends. They are going to be used extensively. The other part of what we're talking about here is the alignment. Notice you have a tight trip set, meaning you've got a tight end, and a wide receiver. Now, against 3-4 style of defenses, this is used quite a bit. Why? Because it widens out the defensive alignment. I mean, just take a look right here at Patrick Jones, where he originally lines up and then where he ends up before the ball snap. I mean, he's on the tight end, but he has to get all the way outside. Why? Because the defensive ends have contained. Okay, that's just the style of defense. You don't want the corners involved in tackling, number of other reasons why, but you want to keep the run game in this box. So by alignment alone, you can widen the defensive tackle from the defensive end and make this space a lot harder to defend, make it longer, make it more difficult to defend. And that's exactly what they do. So you're going to see a ton of really, really tight formations, whether it's 2x2, 3x1, or whatever. But this is just pretty much a basic zone that you have going here. Now, Ivan Pace is blitzing off the edge, but they have the number count, and I think that's the big thing. You have a double team going on right here. This guard will come off and take the blitzing linebacker. But up here, you've got two bodies right here to work up. You've got two bodies right here to work up. So they have a hat for a hat. But watch what happens. And the main thing to watch is what goes on right here with Frank Ragnow and Harrison Phillips, our nose tackle, is this. As this play gets strung out and Jahmyr Gibbs starts working his way outside, look at where Harrison Phillips is relating to the line of scrimmage. The ball was snapped right here at the 46-yard line. Harrison Phillips is already at the 43, and he's going to continue to get pushed back. And what does that do? Look at this lane. Look at this lane that's opened up right here. So it's all about slowing down the backside pursuit, pushing everything out here and creating a lane, and the running back really just has to surf it. Now, this is where things could change. This is going to be not Jahmyr Gibbs, but DeAndre Swift. Is he going to be able to break these tackles? Okay, he gets through two right there, and then you get another missed tackle right here by number 24, Cam Bynum. Remember that name because it's going to come up a lot today. But Cam Bynum with the missed tackle here. And then Jahmyr Gibbs able to tack on another 10 yards at the end. So tight splits, multiple tight ends, widens alignments, and they just want to find a crack for that running back to get through and get up to that second level. Here we have pretty much the same formation, but a different personnel group. This is 3 wide receivers. You only have 1 tight end in the game. But again, a bunch of them, 3 of them over here. And what does it do to the alignment of the front? As they start out, look at Jonathan Grenard. I mean, he's barely in the screen. He's that wide, and the space that it creates between he and the defensive tackle becomes enormous, and that's key. So by alignment, shift, motion, offenses can create more space for them to operate. Now, here you get motion over here to 2x2, but Grenard is already set. He's got to contain this play, and he's going to settle himself outside the wide receiver. Now, when this ball snapped, you got a couple of things going on that really don't help. First of all, is you have a stunt. You have this inside tackle, Tillery, looping inside, and then you're going to see on the outside is Ivan Pace, exact same defense we saw a play ago. But watch the front end on this. As this ball snapped, boom, you get the defensive line inside. You get a good block out here to get contained. Ivan Pace blitzing. Look at all this real estate right here. And it's not as if they're blocking guys out of the picture. It's just by alignment and motion and shift, they can set this thing up. Now, the blitz helps, but you're getting yourself a huge gap for that running back, and he gets himself almost to the second level. Grenard spins out and gets back into it. But always be mindful of how the receiver's lined up and where you are lining up. Before this next snap, what are we seeing again? We're seeing the 12 personnel group. You have a tight end right here and then a tight end right here. But by the alignment, look at the gap that you're creating now between the outside linebacker and the defensive tackle. It's just that simple. They create space by alignment. Now, this one's a little bit different. You get the tight end in motion. He's going to go across and seal backside. And this is your basic zone. You're getting a double team right here on Jihad Ward. They're just trying to push him sideways. They're trying to run Harrison Phillips sideways. And what does that do? That makes the gap for the safety, in this case, Josh Metellus, a little bit murky. And if you decide to pick the wrong gap on a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, it's going to be a problem. Now, right here, you look like this. Gibbs sees this gap. Looks like he's going to cut back in there, but he's got a defensive lineman collapsing on him. He says, nope, I'm going to shake, go forward. Metellus is in the right gap. He just can't get himself back outside. And with a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs, this is what you get. Now, can DeAndre Swift do this? We will see, but I guarantee you that the Bears and Ben Johnson are going to try. Now, these next 3 plays are going to be difficult to watch, but you have to watch them. You got to find out why the Lions were so successful with this Ben Johnson offense. Well, what are we seeing? Again, on the front side, you have 3 different receivers. You have a tight end and 2 receivers, bunch formation. We've been seeing it all, a couple times already. What do the Lions do, right? They shift over because they don't want to just line up in things. Linebackers have to reset themselves. Then you motion tight end in the backfield, and what do you have? I formation. Completely different formation, completely different set of runs that you're going to get out of this. And what happens here, really the Vikings again kind of shoot themselves in the foot with what they have going on. Dallas Turner is going to work his way underneath, and you would expect then the linebacker to really blitz off this edge and set it, but he doesn't, right? The fullback cutting off the backside, worried about pressure over here. And watch what happens. Hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs. Now all of a sudden you've got this lane off tackle. Another key factor in these next 3 touchdowns is this guy right here, Cam Bynum. This is a tackle you have to make. I'm sorry, it's Jahmyr Gibbs in space. You're a safety. That's what you got to do. He's unable to make that tackle. And again, it's not necessarily the plays that they're running, but the running back so far that's made the difference. Starting to sound like a broken record, but again, what do we have here? Another bunch formation. In this case, they're moving that tight end all the way into the backfield. Look what it does to alignment, okay? Van Ginkel was up on the line of scrimmage. Now he's worked his way off because of where this tight end ultimately went. Now, on this play, you kind of have another problem as well. we kind of blitzed ourselves out of it. Okay, Dallas Turner is going to be looping underneath. You're going to have Harrison Phillips looping himself underneath, and ultimately off the edge is supposed to be Metellus. Now they're running the ball away from the blitz. They've done it 3 times in a row now. Maybe they know something that's going on. All right. Right here, the linebacker, a little bit maybe too fast over the top. This time, the tight end, instead of sealing on the backside, he's working his way inside, and they've got this play pretty well blocked up. Okay, so Gibbs takes a handoff, gets through, and then what do we see again? We're seeing Cam Bynum one-on-one in space with Jahmyr Gibbs, and there he goes. Misses him again, and it's another touchdown. So you see 2 backs in the backfield, safeties, you better be ready to tackle. Now, just to add insult to injury, we're going to add this one in as well. This one's a little different in that you have the extra offensive lineman here. You have a tight end in the backfield at fullback, and then you have another tight end lined up right here. So again, there it is. You got to count this guy. He reports as eligible as an eligible receiver. So you have another pairing, kind of a bunch group. But watch what happens. The tight end goes all the way across. That brings out Van Ginkel here on the outside. Now, Van Ginkel needs to keep contained, but we have a little something going on the backside, right? You have a blitz, Grenard, Metellus, again, running away from pressure. That's one of the themes. This ball's taken off. One of the problems here, Van Ginkel gets reached. Okay. You have the fullback leading the running back around the edge. He's able to get on Van Ginkel. And then here's the matchup one more time. Cam Bynum, one-on-one in space with the running back, and just can't quite get there and bring him down. And it's yet another Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown. So alignment, assignment, keeping contained, doing your responsibilities, and safeties tackling if that running back gets to the second level. That's the key. It's not fancy. It's not rocket science. This is pretty simple football. It's about execution. The reason we spend so much time on the run is because the run opens up this, and probably the most explosive part of a Ben Johnson offense, and that's the play action passing game. But everything looks so similar, right? What do we have here? You have a tight formation, tight end, wide receiver. On the bottom, you have the tight end motioning back into the formation. They do this to see if it's man or zone, getting some type of pre-snap read. But the play action passing game is so important to the Lions, and it will be for the Bears as well. You're getting a classic route here. Then we saw this in the preseason. We saw Caleb Williams make this throw earlier in the preseason. You're getting a clearing route right here. You're going to get a tight end to hook up over the middle to try to tie up these linebackers. And then you're going to get another deep crosser. Running back will check through, work his way to the flat. So there's your read right there. Boom. Watch this setup. 1, 2, and 3. He's getting ready to get rid of the football. Look at this space that opens up right here in this part of the field. These linebackers can't be right. It's hard to play this deep to short, especially if that's Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to figure out some way between the corners and the safeties here to pass this thing off, and hopefully the corner can sit here. But this is just too easy of a throw and catch, but it all starts with a good play action fake and a run game that the defense has to honor. The Lions got the Vikings a couple times on this play. This is the exact same play. Again, notice the formation, very, very tight, but no shifting or motioning. Why? Because this is the quick snap. So they do all these things on purpose, but it's the exact same route. You have the clear up on top. You've got a flat route right here. And then in the middle of the field, again, you're getting some type of crosser. It's a little bit different, but still the same flavor, same read for the quarterback. If they can protect the quarterback, then this over route is wide open. So again, look at the linebackers. There are 5 yards, but when this ball snapped, he's blitzing, watching himself up. Metellus, there's nothing Metellus can do. He's one man on an island. This is just way too much space. Again, maybe some help from the corner, passing us off to the safety. I don't know, but this has to get figured out because we're seeing this route over and over and over again. Still don't believe me? Here we go. Tight formation. No shifter motion. So what does that mean? That means quick snap. Hard play action. Vikings have a blitz going on here. Metellus does a decent job reading it, but you see the problem already as this play is developing. You have a corner over here playing a cloud technique, more quarters over here, but you only have 2 underneath defenders. And if that blitz doesn't get there, you're leaving a huge section of the field wide open, and that's this area right here. And Metellus can try again to play this deep to short, but it's going to leave a lot for this underneath route. Wide open, easy throw and catch, and another big first down for the Detroit Lions. So this next play action play, this is an example of why teams self-scout, right? Again, they have the big personnel in. You have Skipper in at tight end, reports eligible, the whole thing. What does that mean? The defense is expecting heavy run in this situation. Once again, you get motion. You always get a shifter or motion in this offense. So when this ball snapped, you're getting what? You're getting Metellus downhill. You're getting Cashman downhill. But watch the problem this creates up top. Just a simple switch route. This receiver curls up right here. This corner, he's in a jam because if he jumps the curl, then this go route's going to be wide open. But look at all of this space because the linebackers underneath are expecting run. Linebackers really, really have to believe their keys or else you're going to have guys running wide open like that. Luckily, that one was batted down. This is another classic example of game planning and not reinventing the wheel every time you play a team, but just subtly changing things up. Now, this concept is something that Ben Johnson loves to do. Okay. What do we see? It's a broken record. You have a tight end up on top, tight end here, 2 receivers here. So it's another bunch formation, play action style of passing, except this time we have 2 receivers coming up the field and their job is to take out and pull out both of these defenders. Why? Because that ends up opening up this entire flat. If this linebacker over here, or no one has flare control, this running back is going to be wide open. Easy throw, catch, and about a 15 to 20 yard gain. But the clearing of a zone and then getting a running back out in the flat is something that Ben Johnson loves to do. And it works. So you get the Vikings the first time you played them that year. You don't just line up in that same kind of formation. You got to change it up a little bit. And that's what the Lions are doing here, right? Tight receiver up top. Let's just motion another wide receiver over to that side. And you're really getting the same look. Watch this. Another receiver going across. So at the snap, it's still 3 receivers over to one side. And you're getting the exact same kind of route. This time, here comes the running back to work out in the flat. Same exact look. You got a safety and you have the corner right here. The problem this time is this hole that's going to open up. He has the option to go out here, except this time Metellus has taken care of him. But you see what's developing right here, and that's this big area in the middle of the field. It's the exact same route, the exact same play, except this time hitting it over the middle of the field. So these concepts stay the same, and that's why you're examining. That's what you practice against. You understand the concepts of what teams are going to try to run against you, and you replicate them the best you can in practice to defend them. So that was just the play action passing concept. And what's amazing is when you look at the film, the play action pass hurts the Viking defense more than the drop back. We're going to go through some drop back passes right here that worked, and there's some concepts that show up, but the play action part of the game has to be figured out if the Vikings are going to be successful in beating the Bears. So here we go. Drop back, quarterback in the gun, running back sitting next to him. Again, the motion before the snap. This is just a simple dagger concept, and the Vikings defense needs to figure this out because all a dagger route consists of is the inside receiver, like right here, running a go to try to clear out the safety. And what you notice is that this cornerback in 8 or in quarters usually is outside shade of the wide receiver. Therefore, this receiver has an unfettered path back into the middle of this defense. You have a linebacker here, but that's a lot of ground to cover. And if protection holds up, this is where Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave need to be of help. When we rush for, we have to get there sometimes, because if you leave it open in the middle of the field, it's a pitch, throw, catch, and that's a huge game by the Lions in the drop back passing category. Another example where this dagger, kind of a scissors route concept, shows its ugly face is in this play right here. So you have the Lions, Ben Johnson's in empty, motioning over. So you have 5 receivers ready to go out in the route. And what happens is really up top in the exchange, if you will, of these 2 receivers. This outside receiver will work his way inside, then work his way vertically, and then work his way on a 7 route. Meanwhile, the tight end will start outside, then work vertically, and then work himself in. It looks kind of like a pair of scissors. That's why they call it a scissors route. But attacking the middle of the field with the tight ends, again, with Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, they're going to want to do these kinds of things down the field. But here we go. You have the 2 vertical routes, 2 receivers running right on top of one another. You have a safety corner on the outside, but there's really nothing in the middle of the field. Why? Because in Tampa 2, the deep middle defender right here is being eaten up by something short. So he's jumping this short route. They're going to bring in something right behind him. It's going to be the tight end. Ball goes right over linebacker's head, and it's a huge reception. So the dagger routes, the scissor routes, those are the routes that you're going to get when you get the drop back passing game. How do you stop those deep down the field dagger routes, scissor routes, those kinds of things? Well, you can zero blitz and make sure the quarterback can't even get the football off to begin with. And knowing Brian Flores, I think this is the way he kind of prefers to go. So the Vikings are going to do plenty of this. And what is a zero blitz? Again, you're blitzing more guys than the offensive line can block. It's just one-on-one coverage all the way across the board on the eligible receivers. That means somebody's going to be running scot-free to the quarterback, and you get this. So the ability to blitz and to bring the quarterback down like that keeps offensive coordinators away from calling those types of plays. We saw empty with a big throw. Well, we're getting empty again, and now we have a jailbreak to the quarterback because Goff doesn't know what he's going to get. We can play zone out of this look, or we can zero blitz out of this look. It's very, very important. Look at this. Ivan Pace, free, getting held by the guard. And then you always want to turn the outside blitzer free. If you're going to let any one of these guys up front go, you let the outside one go, which is correct on their part. Penny Sewell coming down, and Van Ginkel, Ivan Pace, free to the quarterback, bring Goff to the ground. This is the preferred method of Brian Flores to stop those deep routes. So we saw one solution to this deep passing game, and that's just, zero blitzing the tar out of them. But there's another answer, too. It's playing that game. Are we zero blitzing? Are we playing coverage? Look at this play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders deep. Everybody else is at the line of scrimmage. This looks just like zero blitz again. So for Caleb Williams, young quarterback, he's not going to know. Maybe there's a tell, maybe there's not, but he has to be ready for getting anything. In this case, once this play sets up and develops, this isn't zero blitz. This is Tampa 2. Metellus is the deep middle defender. You got a half safety, corner down here rolled up, linebacker, and another corner over here playing the flat. So what looked to be zero blitz wasn't. I think that Flores prefers to control the deep downfield passing game this way by blitzing, by showing blitz, dropping out, and it's such a problem for the quarterback, and we're going to see this in the end zone here. Now, keep in mind, the Chicago Bears spent a lot of money to revamp their front, and mainly in the middle. You have Joe Thuney over here at left guard. He came over from the Chiefs. Drew Dahlman is their center. He came over from Atlanta. Their right guard, Jonah Jackson, came in from the Los Angeles Rams. They've spent a ton of money to shore up the middle of this pass protection. But when you're showing one thing, showing zero blitz, and then doing another, all that money spent really isn't going to do you a lot of good because protection here is great. What is also great is just the underneath. You have Metellus right here to work on this dig. Ivan Pace right here. Van Ginkel understands what's happening with this crossing route. The quarterback has nowhere to go, and it ends up being a sack. You can either learn how to cop, roll post, exchange with corners and safeties, or you can just zero blitz them and stop that deep passing game. I think Flores prefers the latter. So if you want to know what's keeping Ben Johnson up at night, it's going to be this guy right here, Jonathan Grenard. The Chicago Bears are going to either throw out Braxton Jones at left tackle, who was there a year ago, or Ozzie Trapilo, who is a second-round draft pick out of BC, 56th overall. But either way, they have to find an answer to this. And the one-on-one, beating your guy, watch this, the hands, getting underneath, sack, forced fumble. Those are the kinds of things that worry an offensive coordinator. And then it's not just Grenard by himself. In this case, you have Van Ginkel, and we're going to get a nice little stunt here. We're going to get it underneath and then around. The quarterback absolutely has nowhere to go. Again, I think Flores prefers to stop the passing game this way, right? Pressure by Grenard, try to roll out. Alex Van Ginkel right there to deliver a huge hit to the face and put the quarterback on the ground at the same time. So that works out very well. Overall, watching this film, I was surprised at how big the play-action passing game was for the Lions in their successes against the Flores defense. But that starts with the running game. Can DeAndre Swift provide the punch in the running game that Jahmyr Gibbs did for the Detroit Lions? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. So will that play action game be a little less effective? And if the Bears get behind and have to go to the drop back passing game, how are they going to handle the zero blitz with a young Caleb Williams? How are they going to handle the zero blitz fakes? And most importantly, how are they going to handle Jonathan Grenard? Those are all things that I can't wait to see the answers to on Monday Night Football.